Welcome to Lip Service for Contractors. Here you'll learn what moves the needle in your business. With your hosts, Brigham, the deep thinker, Josh, the $100 million contractor, Zach, the confused millennial, Laura, the foreigner. Lip service. It's not about dictatorship. It's about leadership. It's not about duplication. It's about innovation. It's not about stuff. It's about your people. Strap in and get ready for some lip service.
All right, and we are back with another episode of Lip Service for Contractors, you guys. This is a phenomenal episode. We're going to talk about how to motivate your team to perform at extremely high level. This is about emotional engagement at 110%. All of that and much, much more in 60 seconds.
Chances are you love what you're hearing on Lip Service for Contractors. And if you want to go deeper, have an actionable playbook, or just want to learn from some of the most successful and profitable contractors in the industry, check out Clover Marketing from Josh and Laura. They give away free, amazing information, tools, SOPs, scripts, and processes that help their family business grow to over 140 million. And those same tools have helped other contractors in the industry blow up their business and grow an average of 20% every single year. Check out growwithclover.com/free gifts. They update the free gifts section all the time, so make sure you keep coming back.
Power Selling Pros is the customer service coaching company for contractors. Their one-on-one coaching for CSRs helps contractors book at least 85% of their calls and wow more customers. And their group training for technicians helps you create a better buying experience in the home and close more sales. Visit powersellingpros.com to learn more about how you can make more money with their coaching programs.
All right, welcome back to Lip Service for Contractors. How do we motivate our team, you guys? How do we get them to perform at an optimal level on a consistent basis? What do you guys think?
I got the really generic, really brilliant answer, and that is you pay them.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
All right, that's a wrap.
That's all we got to talk about.
Okay, so let's
motivation's a funny one. It is so many nuances because not everybody's motivated by the same thing.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, most people aren't really motivated by money when it comes down to it too,
Totally.
but that's got to be a part of it. So I think it's really important. So many people, like if you're paying your technicians hourly, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not using your pay plan to motivate your team members, right? If you don't have an incentive program for accessories for flipping leads, you're not incentivizing your team using your pay plan. Having a proper setup incentivization schedule and a properly set up pay plan is an instantaneous, long-term guaranteed way to make sure your team members' goals are aligned directly with your goals. Sounds crazy. It's actually not that complicated. It just depends what you're trying to drive and what the position is. I personally believe every single team member, regardless of position, whether you're a technician, a CSR, an accountant, a dispatcher, every single one should have their own incentive and spiff program and bonus program based off of the inputs that they could change in the business. A lot of people have trouble wrapping their head around that, but like obviously a technician should be on a pay performance plan. That's my belief. Because it makes them more effective and gives the customers a better experience. They should also have get a spiff when they sell certain things, when they upsell, when they cross sell. Same for the CSRs. An accountant's not selling anything, but you know what an accountant's really good at? Cutting costs because they see the books every single day, right? A dollar saved just as good as a dollar earned. In fact, it's actually better because it's a lot easier.
You don't pay tax, right? You don't pay tax on a dollar saved.
Profit. You pay tax
no, but on a dollar saved.
Yeah, you still pay tax. It's still profit. Profit's profit though, but it's just easier. So, you know, you can have accountants talking about getting the books done on time or getting a bonus for saving a certain amount of money on our P&L, right? These are all relative things. Like if they find another example would be, you know, uniform service and it's 10% less and it saves you $50,000 over the year, that's $50,000 of profit you wouldn't have had. I don't mind giving some of that to that accountant that made the effort to go out and find that. So I think the easiest, best way to motivate people and the very basic is to pay them with a plan that actually incentivizes and motivates them. There's a
So-
lot more to it too, but that's step one. Is you better have a pay plan that makes sense.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Have you guys ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Sure,
Sure.
everybody has.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, mention them just in case.
it's like a pyramid. So it starts at the bottom with psychological needs, safety needs, love and belonging needs, esteem, and self-actualization. And just to kind of synopsize it from an employee and employer standpoint, the lower level is like feeling like safe and secure, and that does include money, like feeling like you can provide for your family, feeling like you can provide for yourself. But once you surpass that level of like security, only then you're motivated by stepping into one's potential, and that's at the top of the hierarchy. So once money no longer becomes a problem, then money no longer motivates. It's becoming the best version of oneself. And this is a theory that's been thrown around for years and years and years. And many other motivational theories have been like developed as a consequence of Maslow's, and it's all the same thing. People first need like security, and from there, once they achieve that security, it becomes less important. um so I think the takeaway there is, if you're not setting your team members up to feel secure, you're running a losing bloody battle. And then once they feel secure, you can't keep using money as a motivational tool.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's a thought-provoking theory,
The-
and one
the
that's been
prob-
proven, like organizational psychology. And organizational psychology is essentially the study of making the most of organizations and making them as profitable as they can be, as conducive as they can be. That's my master's and what I was potentially PhDing in, and that is without taking care of the psychological basic needs, you're like set up for failure. But again, it's not the only mode. It then becomes less important.
Yeah. And the problem with money is just we're all on the same page. And I know everybody in this knows it, but everybody listening, right? Money is an excellent motivator. It's one of the strongest motivators you have, but money only motivates for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't last. So you always have to keep motivating with money, which makes it not the easiest, best long-term solution. It needs to be part of the plan. But if money is your only motivation, you're in trouble.
And as an
Yeah.
example, like I just these two examples came to mind. We've hired two team members recently. One is my sister, and one is another gentleman. And my sister is a student. She's doing her placement, so money is more important to her right now than it is for the other gentleman that we've hired. And she working out payment and all that kind of stuff. We had to do like some international transfers and all that thing, so it was harder. So she was like, when am I going to get paid? When am I going to get paid? And it was clearly important to her that she got her money. And this other gentleman who now works for us, Austin, he has not even said anything about money, and I'm like plaguing him for his paperwork because we were supposed to pay him 2 days ago, and I'm like, come on, like we need to pay you. He is more motivated by the fact that this job facilitates freedom for him, so he can so he can spend lunch with his kids. He can spend lunchtime with his kids, which he's never been able to do before. So it's not enough it's a one-size-fit-all motivational tool is just not enough.
Yeah. You guys are bringing up some really great points, and a lot of it I agree with. If I could, I'd like to also share experience or inexperience when I first started this crazy business, called Power Selling Pros. My first check, or the first check I wrote to an employee, was to my brother. Crazy thing, I know this doesn't happen in our industry where we hire family.
You never work with your wife. That would never work out. Oh.
Most of the time that's certainly true. I mean, my wife worked for a period of time, but she got bored, and that's fine. She's doing her own thing now, which I love. I love entrepreneurialism, solving problems. It's a beautiful thing. But the first paycheck I wrote to my brother was $20. I wrote a $20 check to him. And to Barry, who was my second employee, a friend from my high school years. In fact, we went to school together in junior high, believe it or not. Barry, I paid him $1,000 a month for the first year. It's funny, when you first start a business, you are looking to get the best deal possible with every employee. And it's interesting how my paradigm is completely shifted from a scarcity mentality, right? My goal is to get the best deal I could possibly get from each of my employees to, um, and you may disagree with this, but I want to pay each of them as much as possible. I want every executive. I know Zach's taking notes right now, right? I would like Zach, take notes. I'd like every one of my executives to be making six figures at least. And I hope for the time where we can start talking about much, much more than that. Why? Because I compensate based on outcomes and results, not tasks and time. And I think Josh was alluding to that in the beginning, is that, look, if you're paying them, let's say, for example, he mentioned accountant, right? If the accountant is saving you money, they should be able to get a piece of that. That's performance, right? And so with Barry, what's interesting is that I would say that he's more financially motivated than he's ever been. Is that a bad thing? No, he's thinking about retirement. He's thinking about the next step in his life, and how much he needs in order to comfortably retire. Everybody should be thinking about that. And so what's cool about Barry is that as an entrepreneur, and he is an entrepreneur. I mean, he owned his own mortgage business before we started working together. He came to me with a solution, not a problem, right? He didn't just come to me and say, hey, pay me more money. He said, hey, I need to make more money, and here's how we're going to do it. And it was something that was equally beneficial for me, beneficial for him. And we made it work. And I hope that every one of the executives on my team follow Barry's example and comes up with solutions to a win-win situation where they are able to make whatever they want to make. And of course, it's equally beneficial for the company, for Power Sling Pros. So my opinion, in short, has obviously not short, in long order. my opinion on this matter has completely shifted from a scarcity mentality to an abundance mentality. And if you can make this transition, right, you can do it in a very wise way. Have a coach that works with you on a regular basis and talks you through how to do this. But if you do it right, you won't have problems with money ever again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Like, it's short-sighted to underpay people because it's so expensive to motivate people, to retain people, to hire new people. You got to pay them properly. And honestly, I'm the exact same opinion. I don't disagree. It's not necessarily I want them to say like I want them to make as much as possible. I want them to make more than they think they want. Um, because there becomes a motivation level. Everyone has a problem, and this is true of businesses, right? What's the greatest inhibitor of business growth for a business? It's one thing and one thing only. It's the owner, right? And that we've talked about that before. When you get comfortable, you tend just not to do the extra things that you once did. So how much money you make really depends on how hard you're willing to work and how many things you're willing to do, right? But I never believe in putting a cap on someone's possibility or money or position or whatever, right? I always found people, and this happens in our industry. You'll have a salesperson, right? And that owner will get pissed off and put a cap on their money because like that salesperson is making more than me. It's like, well, he's making all the sales. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, he makes more. A really good salesman will make more than the owner, and they should because they bring in all the sales, right? Um, but yeah, it's a weird dynamic. But we could talk about money, but that's not the only way to
Nope.
motivate people too.
I just had a.
I was
I
going
just
to say, oh, go ahead, Laura.
no. Go ahead. I'll say it
I
later.
was going to say, in connection to that, there's one of the other things that motivates people that owner's inadvertently not thinking about is trust, right? The level of trust within the company. I have several friends. I live in a town where there's a big company that creates like treadmills and work from or exercise from home products, right? And 2020 was a huge year for these guys because nobody can go to the gym anymore, so they're buying equipment. So the same thing happened there. All of the salespeople started crushing it, and they were making more than most of the VPs for this company. So what did the VPs do? This is a huge business. They put commission caps on all of the salespeople and said,
That's so
no,
short-sighted.
you can't. Like, we're not going to let you guys. They literally said, we're not going to let our salespeople make more than the VPs. And what do you think immediately happened to the trust that every employee in that company who heard about this had for their business? Gone. They're
So
all immediately at
short-sighted.
that point working for money and money alone because they don't trust the people that they work for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard
You
situation.
so you just I love examples. And that was one example, and another example that's off the wall, totally unrelated. I don't know how it came into my brain. Was Walter White from Breaking Bad? So if you think about it, he was a teacher. He found out he had cancer and he needed to provide for his family. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So he was like, okay, I need to find something that will allow me to provide for my family. So he started to make meth. And then he clearly didn't need to he made enough money. He clearly did not need to keep making money. But he reached a point of self-actualization because he became so flippin' good at it. And he did it for totally selfish reasons at the end. He had bloody hell of enough money. So he was reaching a point of actually being really great at something. He'd plateaued years ago in his chemistry teaching job because he was bored. He was overqualified to do the job he did. He actually was beyond bloody motivated because he was actually becoming great. It's like it literally confirms Maslow's whole theory. It's funny. It's just I just thought of it and I just thought it was hilarious.
It's ironic that we have so many years of business experience in this 4-person podcast, and we're using Walter White examples.
I hope everybody's watched that. It's bloody awesome.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
We're working with a business owner right now, and he and I were chatting about this topic the other day because he was asking, how do I motivate my technicians? How do I get them really bought in to performing at a high level? And his central problem, though, the main thing holding him back is he can't get his guys to talk about what motivates them, right? When you ask an employee, what motivates you or what's on your mind, the first answer they give you is never the best answer, ever. So how do you create an environment so that your people will actually talk to you about how much money they want and the things that actually motivate them? Because it's so taboo for so many people. They don't want to talk about it with their boss. The owner just throws his hands in the air and says, whatever, they're not going to tell me, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. How do you get them to talk about it?
That's a culture. That's a culture issue, right? That's openness. That's communication. Like, there's all kinds of ways of tackling that. One of the easiest ways is like sharing the company numbers, right? And that kind of organization, it tends to be that the owner knows the goals and nobody else knows the goals. And we're not tracking every single day. There's not accountability. It all trickles from the top down. When an owner tells everyone, hey, here's the goals we want to meet and here's the why, then it'll trickle down and say, well, here's the goals I want to meet and the why, right? So it's a culture thing. It comes from the top down. It's if your team members aren't sharing with you what motivates them, you're not paying attention. like that's the truth. Like, yeah, they're not going to say it out loud very often, but check it out. Like, I mean, I think one of the best ways, we can talk about this too, money is the starting point, but you know what really motivates people, like more than anything else, for short stints? I'm talking about like, hey, I need this many sales this month. Experiences. Create an experience that motivates them. So a good example I do of that is like darts and donuts. That's a great way of motivating people. But there's like 1,000 ways to do that. If you want like information on darts and donuts, hit up Laura. We'll give you all that information. I can talk about it super quick. Should I talk about it super quick or?
Yeah, definitely.
So darts and donuts, like if you give someone cash, money is a motivator for a moment, and it's a good way to motivate people. I'm not saying don't do that. But when you add an experience to it, it changes the game. So darts and donuts is not only a great motivation tool, but it's a way to get into the second meeting, which is the meeting that happens in the parking lot that I'm not invited to. But But basically, you pick one topic. It could be reviews. It could be, you know, a certain accessory sale. It could be leads. It could be whatever you want, but you pick one thing. And let's say it's reviews for 5-star reviews. Every time someone gets a 5-star review, you generally have a minimum. So let's say 3 is the minimum. So on the third 5-star review for that month, that technician, that salesperson, that installer, that plumber gets a dart. On the fourth one, they get another dart. Fifth one, they get another dart. You get exactly, there's just a limit in the bottom, right? And what you do is you have weekly meetings generally. I'm hoping everybody's having normal cadence of meetings. Once a month, you do a big meeting, right? Where we're going to have darts and donuts. We're going to come bring in the morning. We're just going to have some donuts and coffee, nothing crazy. We'll have a normal meeting and we end the meeting with darts. What you do is you put a dartboard on the wall, maybe outside so you don't get holes everywhere. You put a piece of tape on the ground distance away. And all those guys that earn darts that month get to throw a dart at the dartboard. Whatever they get in cash right there on the spot. So when I say in cash, like a triple 20 is still a 20. I'm not going to pay them $60 to hit $20. But you know what's on one side of the 20? A 1. You know what's on the other side? A 5. Right? So here's what happens. They all throw darts. They're all staring at each other watching, right? And when 20 people or 10 people or 5 people are sitting here watching you play darts and you're not used to playing darts that much, how often do you think they hit the board? They miss regularly, right? And what happens when they miss? They get nothing. They get nothing. They don't get a single dollar, right? But they got more darts generally, so they keep throwing, and they'll get some money, right? And the average we actually found it's between $3 and $5 is the average we paid out because people are so bad at darts.
Amazing. That's what I was thinking. I would practice darts.
So, well, that's beautiful. So here's exactly what happens after the first time you run that promotion. What happens there? They all tease each other.
Yeah.
They're all making fun of each other. They're having fun with it. They're creating the experience. The money goes in their pocket. It's gone. That conversation making fun of John for missing the board 3 times on all 3 darts. That keeps going, right? So they get into that second meeting. They're talking about, they go out to the bars together and they go practice darts for the next time they're going to play, right? When they're talking about darts, what are they really talking about?
Company,
reviews.
Job. Oh, reviews.
Because that's
how they get the darts. Yeah.
Right. And there's like 1,000 ways of doing it. We have a huge list of creating experiential games or incentives or motivation factors. Right. But darts is a simple one, right? Like it doesn't take a whole lot of steps, doesn't take a whole lot of thought. And you'd be amazed, like, especially if you got like a group of guys that tend to tease each other, which tends to happen in our industry. When they miss that dart or they hit that $1, like everyone's, you suck so bad at darts, man. It's like, here's your $1. Like, oh, thank you guys. You know, it's like, it creates much more experience with sticks.
Well, I'll tell you what, you are definitely speaking my language with experiential learning. You guys, there have definitely been some phrases that I love that Josh has said today. One of them being money motivates for the moment. And we'll talk about what else motivates for, has a longer shelf life. But the principle behind that is that experiences have a much, much longer shelf life. And I think that's what Josh is getting at. We are all about experiential learning. We just don't realize it. We don't, we do a very good job of keeping time because we have a wristwatch. Well, time is man-made. We live in our experiences. We live in our thoughts. We live in our feelings. We live in our emotions. And we certainly live in our experiences. Those are the things that we remember. We don't necessarily remember the time that it happened, right? But we know that the experience itself was something that was meaningful to us. And so what Josh is touching on is really powerful stuff. And we can get deeper into it another time. But the point is that, yes, we want to make sure that our team is being paid enough so they don't have to worry about it. Okay. It's very hard for you to be emotionally engaged in the work that you're doing if you're not sure how you're going to provide for your family. Totally. So you've gotta make sure that the money is there. And because you're the boss, it's your responsibility to meet with your team, especially your executives, individually, one-on-one on a regular basis. Okay. They are your customer. All right. The end user is their customer. They are yours. And so it's important to treat them that way. All right. Treat them the way that you would like for them to treat your customers. So take that regular time with them, have scheduled meetings. And you guys, I'm not perfect. I've messed up plenty of times when it comes to compensation. Right. I'm not perfect. I mean, there have been times where I've had to ask for do-overs more than once. Okay. Zach knows exactly what I'm talking about. And it's okay to admit messing up. It's okay to admit that, you didn't handle something well. And you'll find that your team will have a whole lot more respect for you and trust if you're willing to admit your mistakes and to take steps to correct them. So we've spent a lot of time on the money side, you guys. Can we transition over to the emotional side of motivation?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
So this is a transition definitely away from money. And I'm surprised, Josh, you didn't bring it up yet. And I thought I'd have thought about it sooner too. We've recently had our whole organization read a book called The Dream Manager. And the concept is, it's a great short book, 4.5 hours, if even. And the concept is what really motivates people is their dreams. It's like, because ultimately their job is a tool to fulfill their life. So the Dream Manager is this concept where you sit down with all your team members and you ask them to write out a list of 100 of their dreams. 100 is kind of long. We didn't do 100. We cut it to 50. We actually gave them 10 minutes. We gave our team members 10 minutes to write down any dream that they could think of that they wanted to fulfill in their life. And then we used our business as their job as a means of getting them to meet that dream. And I heard about this book actually on a Ferguson dealer meeting, where apparently it spread like wildfire throughout Ferguson and all the dealers, that it's being used now quite profoundly in the industry. I only heard about this concept, I don't know, a month ago. And yeah, it went from taking like companies that were about to go under, companies that began in they were like cleaners and janitors and typically not super skilled workers. And typically because they're not super skilled, they jump between jobs and they're unmotivated. What they found was they were able to increase customer or team member retention by getting clear on what their dreams are and using their job as a means of helping them accomplish what their dreams are, which is not money related necessarily. They're driven by this thought of having what they want or having this desire that they never even entertained because they just thought it wasn't possible. So I just thought it was a cool concept. It's super actionable, really easy. It's more of a conceptual book, honestly. You probably don't even have to read it after, that's kind of it. But yeah, it's a
It's a little
good
more
book.
than that,
It's a good
but yes, yeah, that's the basics of it.
Sure, there are 12 chapters describing how to dream with your team.
Seriously, sometimes I read conceptual books and I'm just like, I get it. Do I really? But I don't allow myself to stop until I finish the book. And it's just so yeah. If you're like that and you don't want to read the book, don't. Now you have the concept.
Okay, so do yourself a favor and make time to do this. I will share a personal experience I had about 6 weeks ago. We have 25 coaches, and the majority of these coaches work from home. They're mothers. Okay, so they're stay-at-home moms, and COVID's been really fun and exciting for them, right? Because they've had to multitask with kids at home, homeschool, and participate in an amazing opportunity to work with Power Selling Pros. And we just love having them because they're so talented and capable. And so I asked the entire coaching staff about 6 weeks ago to dream with me. You believe that, Laura? Those
oh my God, we're so in sync, Brigham.
I know that exact phrase. And so I asked them to write down in an email where they see themselves with Power Selling Pros in 3 to 5 years. I wanted them to describe it in great detail. And it was amazing. I had some people come back with a full page. When I first saw some of these responses, like, holy crap, when am I going to read this? Right? I read the first paragraph and just kind of scroll down to the bottom. Holy cow, I got to do this tonight. Right? And so when I sat down and started reading their responses and the detail and the dream itself, and you guys, I found out some things that I didn't know. Like, for example, Marta, one of our coaches, phenomenal talent. She's finishing her master's degree in HR. Crazy thing, you guys. We need a lot of HR help, right? And so I had no idea that she A, had this talent, B, was going to. She even said that she wanted to get a job in HR afterwards, kind of insinuating that she might say sayonara to us, like we were a short-term deal. Oh, and I put the kibosh on that, right? I call her right up and say, "Gosh, my gosh!" I said, "I can't believe that this is what you're graduating in. And did you know that we have a tremendous need in the HR side of?" She's like, "No way! Yeah, crazy thing. I get to keep my customer, right?" I'm not letting Marta go anywhere. And the same thing applies with every other employee that works with us. As they share their dreams, I get to know what's important to them, and it's not just about money. So uh, so yeah, I can totally relate to what you just suggested, Laura. Ask your team to dream with you, and if you can help them fulfill their dreams, you're going to keep them forever.
Super actionable thing that actually, so you got people to write it out.
Yeah.
What we did was something super similar. We had them write on an Excel sheet their dreams, and when they want to have it completed by. It was like the dream was it the dream, the why, and the date. Dream,
Yeah.
the why, and the date. I think that was it. So so there was like when someone identifies the why. I'm sure you guys know this. It's Simon Sinek's theory. When you have a why, you're more motivated. When you have a stronger why. So yeah, it was an Excel sheet, the dream, the why, and the date, and have them come to you with these dreams, and then just have a conversation. Um,
The key to that
yeah,
too is don't make it all about business. Don't like I think there's a
no,
flaw about saying like, hey, where you want to be with us in 3 years, as opposed to like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Because maybe that's like, hey, I want to buy a house or
right,
I want to take this trip. It's like, well, we can make that trip happen. Number one, you'll need to make some money and have some money for that. You'll also need the ability to work remotely for a short period, right? Like,
right.
but we can make that happen. It all depends on the position, right? But you'd be surprised what some people come up with and how easy some of these dreams are to fulfill with a little bit of planning. And then you've got them bought in more too, which
Which
is
kind of
Yeah.
triggered the thought of, when, and I don't know, was this just a Parker initiative or not, but that tech who was a super good tech, but he wanted to start at a later hour because he wanted to take his kids to school. That's kind of a dream. His dream was to have a job that he could take his kids to school and then come to work. Without that conversation, that would have never have been known, and that tech would have just, I don't know,
actually
worked for
left.
someone
Yeah.
else
Yep.
or left. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to reemphasize what Josh said a second ago about the importance of asking for their dreams outside the context of work, because that is how most managers, most bosses in any industry approach it. So where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? And then you've got the employee thinking, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing here. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, ruin a promotion, because I have no idea. I don't know what position I want to be in at this company.
Right.
But if you ask them about their personal dreams as a
All the
family,
above.
as an
All the
individual,
above.
No, but
Yeah.
I think Zach's so right there, because like you're pigeonholing your employee into like
what if they
being in a
don't want
weird
to work for
being in
you
a
in 5 years?
correct. What if their
They'll
personal
do their own
dreams,
thing.
what if they think that their personal dreams cannot actually be accomplished by working with you? You've just totally kicked yourself in the foot. Instead, ask them their dreams, keep it open ended, and figure out how you can make it happen for them through staying with you.
Yeah.
I think that's totally. I 100% agree, Zach.
I agree. I agree. I know we could go on this about dream management. Read the book; it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it.
But I want to talk about other ways to motivate people because I think we're going off track a little bit, and there's so much we could talk about. Go for
Yeah.
it, Reagan.
So it, on that note, Josh, I would say that another way to motivate your team is to give them ownership of specific responsibilities. It's funny when I say ownership, people might think, "Oh, what are you talking about? That we should give uh, actual ownership to people?" No, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about ownership um, of a specific part of the business.
They own the
Um,
results.
that's right, the results, the outcome. And the way that you do this, and of course, you got to have things that we've talked about before. And here's what I mean by that. Jim Collins' definition of a vision. You've got to have a reason why, right? A purpose that is more important than any other individual inside the organization. You've got to have a specific mission, and that mission should be a tangible goal that you can achieve in 3 years or less. And you've got to have a set of core values. This is your list of it's kind of a code of conduct for how you should go about seeking out this this purpose and this mission, right? So those things have to be there. Now, once you have the why in a company purpose, you have the what in a specific mission that you want to accomplish in 3 years or less, and you have the how with your core values. Okay, now you can set up a time to meet with each member on your team, and you might have a map, right? Your own personal delegation map, and you want to keep it to about 3 responsibilities per person. You take those 3 responsibilities, you sit down with the person that you think might be a good fit for those 3 responsibilities. And then during that meeting, you guys co-create, right? You co-create together, mapping out the 3 responsibilities that they're going to take on and take ownership of. And of course, also develop a compensation plan based on the results, right? Based on the projected outcomes of them taking on those responsibilities, ownership of that responsibility. When you do that, that delegation map may change a little bit, right? Because you think, hey, this guy's got a great strength, and then you present it to them, or at least mention it, and they're like, I don't want to take that on. And so then you start working on in a different direction. Once they begin to take ownership, you guys, this is how you take your 80-hour work week, right? Where you're doing everything, and you make it a 20-hour work week where you're doing less and less and less. People say, hey, you should work on the business and not in it, but they never teach you how. Well, this is how you do it. You instill a vision in the hearts and minds of your team, and then you have each member on your metaphorical bus take ownership of a certain part of the business, or a certain part of the engine, the thing that keeps the company moving forward, and have them take ownership of it and compensate them accordingly for the results that come from that ownership.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome
100%.
result. Awesome advice. Yeah.
I think too. Let's just do some quick hit ones too, because there's so much. Like we could spend like multiple episodes doing this. Let's do the easy ones. You know what we haven't talked about at all, but is an unbelievable motivator? Making it fun.
Yes.
Like a little
Totally.
kid, but that applies to adults. Like, hey, if we want to make a certain goal or objective, you better be having fun and enjoying it at work. Another quick here, like reciprocity, right? Like if they feel like they owe you something because you are going out of their way to make them successful, to have them enjoying, to creating the culture they want to be around, guess what? They're more motivated because they want to do something for you, right? Another way to motivate people, make things their own idea. Like it's not, these are all like, hey, how do you convince your wife to do stuff? How do you convince your kids to do stuff? By the way, it applies to your business too. Like you don't have to overthink these sometimes. Sometimes the easiest, most obvious answers are the ones that work.
Mm-hmm.
Serve them, find ways to serve them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be
Right.
going and mowing their lawn.
Right.
It could be that you spend extra time listening. you
Yeah.
know strive to be more interested than interesting when they call or when you call them. And if you end up spending 25 minutes with them instead of 10 because there's something they need to get off their, that they need to share with you, be open and willing to invest that time with them.
And yeah, and I think another thing, people become more loyal and motivated when they actually know the human, which is the importance of like team building and all of that. They need to know who you are, what you believe in, your morals, your values, which you don't have to share directly, but they're indirectly heard and consumed through extracurricular activities. For us, we do happy hours. We do other kind of stuff, you know.
We do a lot of stuff, right?
A lot of stuff.
It's not one thing.
But that's just an example I came up with. Like, I'm thinking last Friday at our happy hour, it was just like, we have a new employee. I could feel he was just like, I love where I work, as he left the meeting. It was just he got to know the people behind the business.
Yeah, I think, and it's important to remember, guys, like, no one thing motivates everybody the same. If you're doing a good job hiring and a good job recruiting and retaining people, they're all going to be somewhat similar. Like, you're looking for a certain type of team member, but they're not all motivated exactly the same. You know, some are motivated directly by money. Some are motivated by experiences. Some are motivated by you giving the time and effort. Some are motivated by freedom. So they have more time. There's 1,000 ways of doing this. There's not a one size fit all, unfortunately. But if you're doing a good job with building your culture and your hiring, there's things that are going to work for the most part across the business, right? Mm-hmm. So pay attention to those, and just, like, people overcomplicate this. And I've heard this so many times, like, man, he's a grown man. Like, he should be able to handle this. And I'm like, no, that's not the way to think about this. Right. Like, it sounds terrible, but think of them like you would a child, like a little kid. Like, how can I talk this kid that's totally unreasonable into doing this thing? If you could talk a kid into doing it, there's zero chance you can't talk an adult. You know what I mean?
Down, Betsy.
Down, Betsy. I know.
It's a very angry pug.
So, guys, I think that's it. That wraps everything up. I hope you guys got a lot of actionable tips and insight there, and at least feel you guys have a motivated workforce. And if you don't, you now have tools to do something about it. We're here to support you beyond these actionable tips. Of course, you can reach out. We can help. We can help you in various different ways. So again, don't have an unmotivated workforce and not use the resources you have available to you. Number one, this podcast. Number two, reach out to us for solutions. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We enjoyed this thoroughly. Sorry about the dog barking at the end. Clearly they enjoyed it too, or they're giving out about something. Well, thank you guys. Take care. Until next time, stay busy. And Josh, tell them to
go change the world.
Here we go.
Thank you for listening to Lip Service for Contractors. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave us a review in the App Store, and don't forget to share with your friends. Ideas are cheap. Implementation is what separates the winners from the watchers. Go out and implement these ideas. See you on the next episode of Lip Service for Contractors.